So GaroShadowScale, commonly known as Garo, is a very interesting case study and makes for likely the most interesting person I have covered on this channel. This is attributed to his raging narcissism and victim complex, pushing him to the point where he thinks it is acceptable to make the equivalent of a cult in his Discord server and form a hug box of a community. Despite how interesting I found Garo, a video he made around 4 weeks after I uploaded my video went completely over my head and I never noticed it. I only found out after a YouTube comment pointed it out to me, so thank you Ace Howler for telling me about this. On the 29th of October 2022, Garo released his response, which totals 1 hour and 19 minutes. Don't be scared by that, I won't make you watch through the entire video, as it has already sucked the soul out of me. Instead we'll go over Garo's rebuttals to the points I've made in my video, so we can ignore portions like when he talks about subbotting, as I didn't bring that up in my video. What a better place to start than with minor allegations. Now this is probably the worst way he could have worded this. What he actually means is when people like me and several other commentary channels have pointed out that he has a very young audience. Having a look at his channel and by viewing his content for more than a second, one could easily discern that his content is marketed towards children. Despite this, Garo claims that his audience does not in fact contain a large group of minors. He does this because if his audience were to consist of minors, videos such as I rode a gay dragon or any number of videos you can find on his channel would be very inappropriate and perverted. In order to combat this allegation, Garo shows us his analytics, which to anyone with any common sense can figure out that this data is untrustworthy and will not reflect his real audience. Garo is willing to die on this hill though, so I thought it would be great to finally lay him to rest, as he continually states in this video that he is the only one providing actual evidence. Garo claims that because his YouTube analytics states that only 6.7% of his audience is minors, this is more evidence and proof than anyone has provided combined, therefore it is true. Garo then makes this statement.
And no haters presented a single shred of objective proof or data that proves that my audience is mostly minors. You have nothing. I have more data than you do, and my data says that they're not.
Presuming that I am these haters that Garo talks about, I guess I'll have to play along in his game and provide some research. I'll approach this in 2 ways. First, we'll discredit his proof. I've left some further reading and some papers on this in the description, but UK government approved regulatory Ofcom, known for specialising in broadcasting and media literacy, put out a paper on July 2022, with data detailing how various age brackets lie when setting up a social media account. As it shows, the majority, or 57%, of kids from ages 13 to 15, which is around the age shown by YouTube analytics, have their age set up on their profile as above the age of 16. As for the other 16 and 17 year olds showed in YouTube analytics, well, 46% of them have their ages set to above 18. Therefore, around half, or an extra 7.7%, is actually contained in this bracket here. Although this data is only accounting for kids who set up their own profile. As we read further in the paper, it tells us that on YouTube, from the ages 8 to 17, only 54% of those kids actually made their profile themselves. The others may be using a family member's account to view content, which means that 46% of kids are actually using a family member's account or will actually be found within one of these brackets. And of the 54% of kids who have made their own profile, the majority of those kids, we'll say around half again, choose to input a false age in their profile. The reason they do this is obvious. It is to avoid content restriction. Although Garo's content in itself is not even restricted. Therefore, even those kids who are using their own profile that has their correct age, which I remind you is the vast minority, are still able to view the video I rode a gay dragon. Looking at it another way, we can think about how kids would be attracted to the content in the first place. As whilst more kids are on the app than what YouTube's age data shows, this does not mean they are watching Garo's content specifically. Just to eliminate the chance of Garo going with that argument, let's quickly mention how Garo's content is marketed towards children. Throughout Garo's videos, we see a large amount of color, which is known in science to appeal to children. The games he plays have a primarily child audience, such as Minecraft, where about 68% of boys aged 6 to 8 play the game. And around 1/3 of boys who play the game regularly watch Minecraft content on YouTube, much like Garo's videos. His editing is quick and jarring to help keep the attention of younger audiences which scientifically have shorter attention spans. Really, we could be here all day, but what is very apparent is that Garo's subscribers are indeed containing a large child audience. Hopefully with that, Garo can stop saying us hating haters have no proof, and Garo will stop claiming that he is the victim here. Now, using that information, we can look at Garo's more weirder uploads which contain video games that cater to an older audience. Games which contain pornography or include fetish material which is able to slip by YouTube's guidelines. I talked about this in my other video, and this is the reason him having child audience is so dangerous. He promotes this fetish material in a very inappropriate way, and the fact that he sees no wrong in this is alarming. Next point I made that he addresses in the video is how he would treat his audience and the entitlement he has towards them. For some context, Garo would have temper tantrums to his fans of his content in DMs over ridiculous things. I showed a few examples in my video of times when Garo would interact with these viewers. One such example was when a fan DM'd Garo saying that they enjoyed the streams and gave a nice friendly comment. This was met with a rude statement shaming the individual for not appearing on streams enough to watch him. Garo's response to this was to say the reason he was messaged by this person was to apply for regular status in the server, although he didn't meet the watch time requirements to achieve such a role. If that were the whole story, that would be fine, but that's not act like the comments Garo made weren't aggressive and trying to shame the person for not turning up in enough streams. Garo specifies that the person, quote, didn't even turn up to a full stream, and that the viewer has to do better and act better. Garo does admit in his response that he lost his temper a bit, and yeah, you did. But Garo tries to excuse this by saying that he was doing a lot of channel work that was causing him to be very stressed at the time, which does in no way make what he said any better, and Garo's response doesn't help the situation. Moving on to the next text message, this one is even worse. Garo messages a person who is celebrating their birthday in the Discord server for celebrating their birthday too much. Garo begins his response by saying that, no, I'm a good person. I used to celebrate everyone's birthday. You haters are just cherry picking. Garo, that's not cherry picking. When we talk about how you've had bad interactions with fans where you were being a complete entitled brat, we're not going to show you trying to be nice to someone. That's just not what we're here to talk about. He then tries to excuse what he said by saying that the person didn't really talk much on the server, therefore he must have been trying to gain something. He plays that off like it makes any sense.
Like, you're barely around, you're just gonna come in and announce your birthday, and then you want us to give you like a gifted sub like that?
This response here makes Garo look like more of a douche. You claim that you do not require people to have their full attentions be on you, but then someone isn't allowed to talk about their birthday on a server that they are a part of. No one is required to be fully active in a community to be part of it. What really strikes me here is the length Garo takes upon himself to try and justify himself in any way. He really could have just apologized and that could have been it. He's making himself out to look even worse by trying to justify himself here. Finally, with the DMs, we get to Garo's interactions with a moderator of his. This is long, and therefore if you want me to explain it, I will direct you to my last video about Garo. The response Garo gave was pure mayhem. First off, Garo only talks about a small portion of these messages, which for someone who seemed to be so adamantly against cherry picking, this goes against everything you just said. Garo claims that because he broke what he called the #1 rule, which was no self-promotion and no advertising, he had reason to be upset at this person. A fan broke this rule by inviting the moderator to another server, a moderator who the fan had made a friendship with. This, in Garo's own words, made him very angry, because he was, quote, going after my moderators, which makes no sense. No one was going after them, they were friends. And that itself doesn't even break the #1 rule, as they didn't self-promote in the server that way. They sent a server invite to a friend through messages. Garo puts on a very pouty face and states,
And I was furious.
Going on to state that it was also because he had built up a connection with the moderator and that hurt Garo's feelings. Why is that? Well, as I stated before, Garo demands constant attention, and no one else can get that attention. If anyone else does get that attention, it is from him, and he essentially virtue signals by bragging about how many birthday celebrations he gives, or whatever he tries and does. Going over the messages, Garo was a complete loser and absolutely lost his mind over this person because they interacted with someone else. Even in that portion of the messages Garo talks about where he says, just inviting him to that server is cause enough for a ban. But it continues saying, but the fact that you built a strong attachment with him, showing that it was this that really ticked him off and made him get this angry. And he is still angry to this day.
But what happened was still very disgusting. Very horrendously disgusting.
What really happened is Garo had his insecurities hurt, therefore he went on this unjustified tirade over a moderator interacting with a fan in a friendly manner, which caused Garo to feel challenged.
You call me the manipulator? That's funny. That's really funny that you call me the manipulator. If I was so manipulative, why are my rules so insanely blunt?
I must say, whilst this video may be longer as hell and I wish I could go over so much, at the same time, so much of it is just paranoid rants where Garo goes on about everyone being against him, everyone's trying to manipulate him and steal from him. It's actually kind of entertaining to just watch a delusional person attempt to shift the blame. One thing that I will mention just because this is hilarious is this clip.
In fact, if I was narcissistic, why do I spend so many streams playing with my viewers community games so much? Why do I have a regular status system where people can play with me for free? Why?
It has got to be the most narcissistic thing to say you're not narcissistic on the basis that you're such a great person because you do something that is nice. In Garo's response, we see this repeating pattern of him being humble, bragging about something he has said or done, despite him claiming that he is anything but a narcissist.
So actually, I've hugged a lot of people without them having to spend a penny, because I just love giving hugs. I'm a very affectionate, loving person. Would a narcissist really be so self-sacrificial?
It gives this complete contrast of view where on one side Garo claims he is such a nice, humble, caring person, which means he couldn't be narcissistic because of that. Even though self-love and over-exaggerating oneself is the main trait found in narcissism, it creates this dichotomy within the video that contradicts himself countless times, so much so that it's entertaining to watch. Last but not least, we have his Patreon. Now, this is a funny one. Basically, what happened was Garo had two very expensive Patreon tiers at $250 and $500, which would offer very little of value for the prices that they were giving. These tiers would offer such basic benefits as a VR chat, hug, and a single Discord message. Garo claims that people painted the scenario as these two tiers being the only ones available on his Patreon, and not showing the fact that he indeed has cheaper tiers, which for some YouTubers may be the case, but I myself can say that I did the exact opposite, and in fact showed the cheaper tiers directly on the screen in my video. Unsurprisingly, Garo defends this by saying that the Patreon is a creator support platform, and people are free to give them money for the tiers if they so wish, which is true, although we as creators ourselves are allowed to criticize these prices and what people are getting out of it as a reward. So when Garo says, "You have no right to tell me how to price these things," we do in fact have the right to be able to give our opinion on them, and to many people, much like myself, they offer nothing, and you are selling out to your audience, milking them for every dollar they have. Now we reach the final section. Garo calls out to us commentary YouTubers in particular. He asks us one question. What has been constructive about our videos? The most obvious answer is to call out shitty behavior in the YouTube community, bring awareness to a situation where a creator is abusing their platform and promoting disgusting material. Although Garo has a response to that. He says that because he has disputed all the arguments against him, we aren't really bringing anything to awareness. Well, to that Garo, I say that you haven't really disputed anything. You paint yourself just as narcissistic and insecure as before, and your claims about your audience's age are completely inaccurate. He even drives home the point I'm making in the same sentence where he says he disputed all the evidence.
Well, I mean, I pretty much disputed all the arguments. I'm actually not a bad person. I'm actually one of the most caring and loving people I need.
I'm not a bad person. I'm the most caring and loving person. See, here I'm bringing awareness to your rampant narcissism. And the fact that you're too ignorant to notice this is shocking. That's the criticism we're talking about. And that's where you are wrong here. In conclusion, this response provided no rebuttal to the arguments made against him. Instead, it enforces many of the critiques I and many others have made in the past. I harbor no ill will against Garo, but he in this video requested a researched and detailed argument from haters like me with proof to back it up. And today I provided just that. Thank you all for watching, thank you for all the continuous support, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.